Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Driven Shot Podcast. My name is Omar Hawash. With me will be Peter Manama, and this, as always, is a collaborative effort between Blaugranagram and Mundo Deportivo. Now, this episode is a little bit unorthodox because it is way longer than they usually are. It's about 2 hours long, and that's because after the Real Valladolid against Barcelona game, we over at Blaugranagram held a Twitter Spaces where we analyzed the match. This ended up with several listeners joining in and chiming in with their opinions, and it wound up being a talk about the Inter game midweek, about the match that just passed against Valladolid, transfer rumors, and a lot more with regards to FC Barcelona. So, strap in and get ready for an unorthodox but very interesting episode of the Driven Shot Podcast. This will also be on Spotify and the likes, so if you don't want to watch it for 2 hours, you can always tune in on the other platforms to search for The Driven Shot and sort for podcasts. On that note, roll the intro. "90 minutes in the books. Barcelona pick up another 3 points, this time at the Estadio José Zorrilla against Real Valladolid away. Real Valladolid stay bottom of the table. Barcelona stay top of the table. And the Catalan side now with a combined 79 points, 34 games played. Real Madrid with 72 points. 1 game in hand, though. That one against Celta Vigo tomorrow, 2 p.m. local time at the Santiago Bernabeu. That game could swing them back up to a 4-point deficit to Barcelona as they prepare for El Clásico with a whole week, because they're no longer in the Champions League this season, so they have a whole week to prepare from the Celta game tomorrow and afterwards. And so, depending on how that game goes tomorrow, it will definitely shape their destiny coming into El Clásico next weekend. But everything considered, what do you make of this game, Peter? I think it was a scrappy one. Barcelona just about did what they had to do, but looked extremely shaky and unreliable in stages. Longer stints of the game, really, and definitely need to take a hard look at themselves coming into the midweek game against Inter Milan in Milano away. But what do you make of this game?
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, this was not the ideal result for Barcelona, not in the sense that, them winning the game wasn't ideal. Of course, 3 points here is massive, but I think it was just that in terms of the general performance, of course, there were things that they would be upset with, obviously. Making the rotations is one thing, but I think from a general standpoint, there wasn't enough from the players there in the first half when it came to the players who were given a chance today, looking at the likes of Pau Victor, Ansu Fati, of course, Dani Rodriguez sadly going off injured. There wasn't quite enough from Barcelona in that first half. They were just too passive at times. They were too slow in moving the ball. And when they had moments in front of goal, it just didn't quite happen. A lot of their best efforts were coming from range and not really through creating clear-cut chances. I think in the second half, Flick had to make adjustments, and credit to him there. He didn't wait until things got too dicey. He knew that he had to make changes there. He took urgency in this game in making them. And Barca ultimately played better. They moved the ball there with more of a bite about them. They were able to expand the pitch there, open up spaces there in behind to get more clear shots away. And eventually there, through Rafinha, of course, Araujo playing a big part, getting forward, causing the keeper to punch the ball into a dangerous area. He did. Rafinha stepped up, very good finish. And then later on, of course, Gerard Martin receiving the ball, great pass across the face of goal. Fermin Lopez there, right place, right time, clean strike, back at the net. And Barca, from that point on, really, it wasn't convincing. It wasn't brilliant. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't the Barca that we typically know. But they had just about enough to see the game out, of course, get the win, and now put themselves up 7 points, put the pressure on Real Madrid. And also, as well, for the most part, they've been able to rest some key players for the match against Inter Milan, and now they'll be hoping to have the likes of Alejandro Balde and Lewandowski back with them, of course. Pedri also being rested now for that game. And hopefully, Dani Rodriguez, of course, sadly, he'll be probably done for the rest of the season, but we do hope that he is able to recover and be back for the first day of preseason going forward. And of course, now for Barcelona as well, there are concerns over some potential players being injured too that they have to be careful of. And so hopefully for them, especially there with the concern for Gavi as well with the hamstring injury. Hopefully that isn't too serious, and Barca will look to build from there. But overall, it's 3 points. It's another big step there towards winning the league, and hopefully now for Barca, it gives them the momentum needed to take on both Inter and, of course, Real Madrid next week. It's a very, very tough week for Barca, and they'll be hoping to get the right results.
Yes, and for Marc-André ter Stegen, his 421st appearance ever for the Catalan club, getting his 7th league appearance today this season. Of course, came out, well, his injury happened between the Villarreal and Getafe games in late September of 2024, and came off the back of 6 wins in a row for Barcelona. Got injured, and now he's coming back to yet another win. So not a poor record, 100% win rate for him as well. And did well today when he was called upon in spite of the early goal. Got caught off guard with the deflection off of Ronald Araujo. And that's also a good sign for Barcelona that your captain is looking sharp, and for what definitely has to be an emotional game for him, comes away with a win despite not coming away with a clean sheet, but came away with the win and played a key part in making sure Real Valladolid did not get a second goal when they had multiple chances to do so, especially through Raúl Moro down the left-hand side. But for Barcelona overall, did what they had to do is probably the best way to put it. Now, in La Liga, 5 wins, including this, 4 wins in the last 5, including the one tonight. Had a draw against Real Betis, the 1-1 draw, and since then they've beat Leganés, they've beat Celta, they've beat Mallorca, and now they've beat Real Valladolid, albeit with very, very tight score lines, remember. 4-3 against Celta, 1-0 against Leganés away, 1-0 against Mallorca at home, and now 2-1 against Real Valladolid. So not the most convincing form in La Liga, but doing just enough. And maybe just enough will be enough to win them the Liga title this season, as they prepare for El Clásico a week from now in league fashion, and in the Champions League midweek when Barcelona take on Inter Milan. That game, of course, will be the second leg of the semi-final. It will be played at 9 p.m. on Tuesday at the Giuseppe Meazza, or also known as the San Siro, depending on who's playing that day. But it is the Giuseppe Meazza on Tuesday as Inter take on Barcelona. Second leg of the semi-final. We will be there. We hope you will be as well. And again, for Barcelona, it's going to be a match that decides whether they get into the final, where it's going to be either Arsenal or Paris Saint-Germain. As things stand, Paris Saint-Germain beat Arsenal 1-0 at the Emirates in the first leg of that semi-final. Ousmane Dembele getting an early goal in the 4th minute. So very interesting to see what's going to happen with that tournament as well, because last time they were in the Champions League final, Paris Saint-Germain wound up losing, but of course did not have the fortitude or the tactics and the players that they do now. So should Barcelona make it through, that will definitely be an interesting match for many reasons, including the inclusion of Ousmane Dembele and his prominence in Paris as things stand. Peter, any final words before we wrap up the coverage tonight of Real Valladolid and FC Barcelona?
Well, I think for Barcelona there, it's an important win. Obviously, it puts them in a very good spot now to just go ahead and think forward to the game against Inter Milan. I think for Valladolid, we have to say this. They do deserve credit. I thought they gave a good game today, especially because of how poor they've been in the league and not winning since January. And so I thought that tonight was a much improved display than we've seen from them in recent weeks. They've been able to lose games at home there to the likes of Getafe and Sevilla by 4-0. And so tonight, they began well. They caught Barcelona lacking in many ways, caught Barca off guard, but were able to, really give us a bit of a scare there. But I think Barca responded well. Did just about enough, really, not brilliant, not fantastic, not really anything above maybe a 6.5 out of 10 from Barca tonight, but it was just about enough to get through, seal the result, and now, of course, all focus shifts to a season-defining game against Inter Milan there in the Champions League, and then, of course, looking forward to the weekend's game against Real Madrid, which could be the game that Barca really take that big step towards sealing the league title.
Right, and that game also, the outcome of that game, let alone its own outcome, of course, depends on the outcome of tomorrow's game between Real Madrid and Celta Vigo, at 2 p.m. local time at the Santiago Bernabeu. That game will, of course, make, it's gonna definitely be a huge, decider in, how both teams approach this game and what's at stake. So, with that in mind, a final thing we're going to do here is we're going to take in at Rajdeep Mrida to tell us his views on tonight's match and what's ahead for FC Barcelona as they prepare for two potentially season-defining games, having already won the Copa del Rey and the Supercopa de España. Of course, still La Liga and the Champions League to play for. So, Rajdeep, let us know what you think of tonight's match. What did you see? What did you think of Barcelona's performance tonight?
Oh man, it's a casual game, nice game. Like our goat Gerard de Martin dropped a masterclass, but nice game, clean game. Maybe have 4 more or 2 more goals, but yeah, good game. Hope to see a great game. Inter Balde will be back, Leva will be back. Then yeah, we should get the job done for Inter. Yeah.
Yes, and thank you, and welcome to the show. The interesting thing as well will be, of course, with Lewandowski and Alejandro Balde potentially back, it's also a question of whether they would start those matches as well, or whether we'll see them as late inclusions.
I think
over the
Balde
course
will
of those
start.
90 minutes.
Yeah, Leva from bench. I think Balde will start and Leva from bench. I think so because
Who would
Ferran
you?
is totally rested today. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the point I was getting to as well, is who you would put up front. And I'm guessing the obvious answer here is Ferran Torres. I personally thought Pau Victor had a good game despite of everything. I don't think he had a whole lot of service in the first half. And he did well with what he got. Of course, it would have been nice to see him score a goal, but unfortunately for him, it just did not come about. But I think Pau Victor also had a good cameo today. Nothing too flashy, nothing too shiny, but promising, I think, from him as well.
Yes, the early, they took early lead and the blow for that they sit back and yeah, chances to create chances. It's difficult, man. So yeah, for that Pau Victor had an average game, I will say. But yeah, nice to see get minutes of those players. And next Madrid after that Espanyol and 3-4 games. I would like to see Ansu more and the players who will get sold by Barca. Would like to see them more to get some market value up.
Right. And that's definitely also a factor when you see players that have not been as prominent this season getting playing time towards the business end of the season, and potentially also maybe after the league is decided. You would imagine that Hansi Flick would be more leaning towards fielding players that otherwise would not be in the starting 11, with everything already decided, to at least say that, well, if these players are going to get sold, at least they're going to have shown something that would benefit Barcelona a bit more financially from that deal.
Yes. I would like to ask a question. What do you think about Gavi's future? Means Gavi is playing. I think he plays really, really good. He got those minutes. He shows some of his characters. And yeah, I think next season or maybe next 2 seasons, like Xavi had a ACL and he had 2 seasons to recover from it and play get good rhythm from it. What do you think about it? What do you think Gavi is going to happen?
I honestly think that if Barcelona managed to get the league all wrapped up within the next 2 games, I think even if Gavi isn't as gravely injured, so if the hamstring pull is just a pull and nothing too serious and he can play through it, I think we'll see him be rested way more over the course of the remainder of this La Liga season. And I think also for him, it's going to be a question of managing his energy, because he is one of the most, if not the most energetic player for Barcelona when he's off the ball. So he is one of the players that you would want to look at and say, we need to make sure that that energy can be well managed, because otherwise he's either going to pull a hamstring like he did today, or he's going to just run out of gas like we've seen with Pedri a couple of games ago, where he just towards the end of the game just did not look as sharp and was making mistakes that he doesn't normally make because the fatigue is getting to him.
Yes, last game against Inter, against Madrid, I see Pedri struggling a bit on the last minutes.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well that I think we'll see with Gavi if it does come to that. But Gavi's role is very different, because Gavi operates a bit more as a floating six, unless he's being deployed as a 10. And I think it's an interesting mix with a player like Gavi, because he gives you so much in so many different areas, especially because of the energy he has on and off the ball. So for a player like him, it's going to be very, very crucial for Barcelona to manage his minutes, especially if the league is already decided. And I think if it does turn out that he's ready to play, let's say 2 to 3 games from now, I don't think we'll see him play more than 20, 30 minutes a match in La Liga if it's already been wrapped up, because you do not want to risk him getting injured coming into a second season for Hansi Flick, where Barcelona at that point could have potentially, let's say, if everything goes Barcelona's way, they've won the Supercopa, they've won the Copa del Rey, they've won La Liga, they've won the Champions League, and you come off to the second season with some changes that you have to make in personnel and in tactics and so on and so forth. And you would want a player like Gavi to be there for all of that. So that's going to be a big question that Hansi Flick has to answer to. And I think today, the German coach showed glimpses of resting certain players that maybe would not have been players that you would have bet on him resting. Lamine Yamal and Rafinha rested in the same game as Ferran Torres, who's your currently number one option for the striker position. And then instead of putting Ferran Torres in, he put in Dani Olmo, and did not take off Fermin, giving him minutes. So it's been I think a lot of interesting changes from Hansi Flick today. And that's also why, in my eyes at least, if it does come to that, I think Gavi will be rested appropriately. At least I would hope so, because his importance in Barcelona, both club and culture-wise, and also on and off the pitch, he's not a player you want to miss for an extended period of time. And he does add that energy and grit that you do miss against teams that operate a bit more on the heavier side of things, like a Getafe, like parts of Real Valladolid today, potentially like an Inter Milan, against the Real Madrid in some aspects as well, and an Atleti. You need a player like Gavi for those games. So it's crucial that he's, that he's doing well.
I'm more talking about Gavi's future impact. Like if Barcelona has right now, I think 7 midfielders stacked. Barcelona is stacked in midfield. Dani Olmo, Fermin, Pedri, Frankie, Gavi, Casado, Bernal.
Right.
Yeah, 6 to 7 midfielders. Do you think any one of them might be sold? Or
I don't.
get sold?
Of the names you mentioned, I honestly don't see any of them getting sold. But also, what you have to add to that mix as well is Frenkie de Jong, Eric Garcia as well. Those are potential players that, if we were to see sales, I think those are the players they'd look towards, just because of their high market value, respective to the other players as well. So for me, I think at this point, they offer you different things. Marc Bernal will still need to get into the role now. Yeah. He just played in preseason and came in, and then got injured. Marc Casado has done really well this season, but when you have Gavi, Frenkie de Jong, and Pedri, I think it's very natural that the nod is going to fall on those 2 or 3 ahead of Marc Casado. But it depends on what you're looking for in a game. And I think if those players would be comfortable being bench players, especially because they are as young as they are, I don't think any of them would get sold. But if you're looking at a player getting sold, I think it would be Frenkie de Jong, if Barcelona had to make a sale. But I also think Frenkie de Jong has done very well in carrying himself. And
Frankie has done brilliantly, growing with the game right now. He has done brilliantly.
He absolutely has. And Rajdeep, thank you for now. I'm going to pass the mic on to Drenched. Drench, thank you for joining us. And Rajdeep, thank you for hopping onto the show. We hope you enjoyed it. And we hope to see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blaugranagram. I have a bit of a hot take, but
go for it.
I want us to secure some silverware in winning La Liga and missing out on the Champions League final solely. I'm fine being eliminated by Inter solely because I feel like if we get that extra game, I feel like fatigue / injuries, you slowly see it with Koundé. Koundé had an amazing streak going on with game after game after game, and Lawa as well getting injured, Balde as well. I feel like I want these youngsters to like feel like, okay, hey, we won the domestic treble, we made it to the Final Four, and move on with this season. I want us to secure a title at least. I feel like if we go on to that Champions League final with that one extra game, we need to maybe even fight to the final day of La Liga to secure the La Liga. And then let's say we face PSG. PSG already has it wrapped up, I believe. I believe the final game in La Liga is on the 25th. Then we have 6 days rest, and PSG probably has way more. So it's like, I want us to, looking at the depth, looking at the fatigue, to just focus ourselves on La Liga, is what I'm basically saying, because I feel like the Champions League is just a bit too much. You need a couple more seasons, I feel like. Maybe not a couple, but like you need more personnel to like spread out the fatigue a bit more in a balanced fashion, if you will. Get a Nico Williams in, get a Venderson in, because if we had a Venderson, let's say, on the right back, then Koundé might have not been injured at this point in the season solely because he has a rotation option available, like stuff like that. And I feel like we're definitely able with Hansi Flick to go for that treble. Don't get me wrong, guys, but it's like we need a couple more plays to like really have that fighting chance to have the depth, is what I'm saying. I feel like if we have that Champions League final, we might lose that final, and we might, because of fatigue, because we tried securing the Champions League, we fall out in the league as well. And at least if I have to choose, I like to fall out against Inter and at least have La Liga. I'm sorry, that's just my take. Anyone may have a go if they want.
No, I think it's a
yeah. Let me
Peter.
Let me chime in here.
I'd love to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah, and look, I think this is it's a bit of a mix, right? Because I think that there's substance in what you're saying, and that of course this team does lack, key depth in areas. Whether you look at the left wing position, whether you look at right back, sometimes even left back this season, centre back as well. At the start of the campaign there, we had issues that we suffered through. Even in midfield, of course, we don't have a recognized pivot. Of course, we lost Bernal due to an ACL tear, and he's out for an entire year, right? So there is definitely weight to what you're saying, in that this team does lack some squad depth in key areas, and that can affect the team. And of course, sometimes, you can look at it and say, okay, I would be happy to sacrifice a trophy here, or perhaps a place in the final here, if it meant that this team could go on to secure the league. I think that sort of mindset can creep in. What I would say is this: I think if you're Barcelona, you're at a stage where you aren't the only team who's had injuries. You aren't the only team who's lacking in, key areas when it comes to having that proper squad depth. And so it's one thing to acknowledge that and say, yes, we do need to add more pieces to the team. Absolutely right there. In the summer, you do need to add 1 or 2 pieces there, maybe even 3. You need to have proper cover there in order to be able to rotate players. And like you said, if we had a right back that Flick trusted to rotate on a consistent basis, you probably don't lose Koundé at this stage of the season. Maybe at left back as well, you don't lose Balde, for example. But still, when you get to this stage of the season, especially when you are, as Barcelona, in the Champions League, you are quite literally 2 games away from the trophy. And in the league, pending on what happens against, given, Real Madrid and Celta Vigo, pending what happens there, if Real Madrid were to drop any points in that game, Barcelona would have the chance to essentially win the league next weekend. And then all of a sudden, if they can do that and seal the league either then or say that, tomorrow Celta Vigo lose. Okay, then you can beat Real Madrid, beat Espanyol, and then seal the league then. And you would still have around 2-3 games to end the season to properly rest your players and rotate them for the Champions League final, right? You've got a game against Inter Milan there on Tuesday. Of course, it's going to be tough. Of course, it's going to be grueling. And of course, throughout a season, even if you do have a full squad, you're going to suffer injuries. Take a look at Arsenal, right? Who lost their entire front line for the entirety of the season there. They lost their front line, but it didn't stop them from wanting to push on in the Champions League and say, okay, let's really fight hard to go through Real Madrid. Let's fight hard to get to a semi-final and potentially a final, right? As Barcelona, as the club itself, you're going to be pushing for these trophies. If there's a chance for you to win these sorts of competitions there, and you recognize that you're in a point of the season where it's within touching distance, there's going to be a degree where you just go for it, right? Where you back yourself and say, okay, let's actually go for this trophy. And here's the reality, right? Barcelona are at a stage in the league where they have a buffer over Real Madrid. They have a 4-point buffer over their greatest rivals. So even if they were to drop points, even if they were to lose a game, their fate would still be in their own destiny. And that's the key part now in the season. It's not as if we're in a situation where we're chasing Real Madrid, where we're a point behind, or 2 points behind, or 3 points behind, and you're having to think, okay, maybe you push off, one game. Say that we were in the quarterfinals, for example, and maybe at that point you thought, okay, maybe this team isn't quite ready yet, and there's going to be, more games to come. And maybe say, for example, right, that we were playing in the Club World Cup this summer. That's an extra tournament that these players have to go through. And at that point, you could maybe make the argument and say, okay, maybe you would sacrifice the Copa del Rey or one other trophy here and there in order to be ready for those sorts of tournaments. But in this case, for Barcelona, that's not the case. You've got a few more matches to end the season. You're in a very, very good spot in the league. And you're in a situation where at the start of the season, you wouldn't have thought that you would be in with a genuine chance of winning the Champions League. And yet you are 90 minutes away at 3-3, right, from reaching a final. That is massive for this team. It's massive for these players. It's huge for Flick and for the club in general. And they have every right to give it their very best go. La Liga, of course, if you lose to Real Madrid or you draw that game, you still have it in your control. You still have 2-3 games fully in your control against opponents who you should be able to beat. And keep in mind, you've beaten Real Madrid on 3 occasions this season.
Can I add some? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can I add some fuel to what you're saying? I would even go as far as to say maybe just rotate against Real Madrid and just go ham on the last 3 opponents in Espanyol, Villarreal, and Athletic Bilbao. You have a better chance at winning against those guys, and you get some B players in like we did today against Real Madrid. Secure your chances, what I'm saying.
Yeah, what I would tell you there is that is not something you're likely to see when it comes to a game of that magnitude, especially if Barca are going into that game with a chance to win. But I do get what you're getting at, though, is that Barcelona, right, on Tuesday, they are going to pour everything into that game against Inter Milan, right? They are going to put absolutely everything into that game and trying to get through. So I understand what you're saying in that, of course, at the weekend, right, there's going to be a bit of tiredness. There's going to be a bit of fatigue. There's going to be some heavy legs in there. But that's not going to deter this team or Hansi Flick from putting these players out there again and expecting them to give one last push. Because here's the thing, right? If you can go into this game against Real Madrid and Inter, right, these are your crunch matches. These are the toughest games that you have in the season left, especially in this moment of time. If you can secure your place in the final, then what that gives you, right, is it gives you the last week of the season to rest your players. If you can give this one last push and beat Real Madrid, you can make the sort of rotations that you want to in these next few games after, because you can trust your team that they can win. Of course, today against Valladolid, that's exactly what we did. And it wasn't the best performance, right? It wasn't great, but we just got over the line. What I would tell you is if you were to do this against Real Madrid, especially given the front line that they have, you wouldn't be able to get away with it. But if you were to do this against, Espanyol, for example, right? This is the sort of thing that you could get away with. So I think for Barcelona, there's gonna be an element of risk in whatever you do. Whether you choose to play your full players against both Inter and Real Madrid or not, there's gonna be an element of risk. But keep in mind, for Barca, if there's any chance for them to rotate now, looking at their matches coming after these two matches, you've got Espanyol. That's probably your best chance to make a few rotations. But the key thing there is it's Espanyol, right? It's our rival. They're going to want to be physical. They're going to want to be tough. They're going to want to do anything possible to avoid us sealing the league at their stadium, as we've done in the past. And so that might be a game where you're able to make slight rotations, but not fully enough. Yes, Omar?
When you finish your point, I would love to hear what Rajdeep has to say, and then we'll circle back to you, Drenched, for your point, for your counterpoint to that.
Yeah, of course. And so just to make this point more concise here as we almost wrap up is, for Barcelona, what I would say is this, right? Pour your energy into these next two games. Inter, Real Madrid. These are your season-defining matches. You are limited, you are lacking, but you can pour your energy into these two games. If you do so and you can win, you essentially put yourself in a great spot to secure those two trophies, right? You put yourself in a final, and you essentially, depending on what happens tomorrow, you could seal the league against Real Madrid. And what that allows you to do then is give the players the rest that you want to give them now, because then you have Espanyol to rest the players. You have Villarreal to rest players. You have Bilbao to rest players, and then give them that one last push that they need for the Champions League. So, Drenched, I want you to know that the points you brought up are very good points. Like, this isn't me talking down to your points, because I understand that this team for sure needs depth. It needs additional pieces there. And I get what you mean, because when you're in a crunch situation, it can be easy to say, you know what, maybe I can give up one trophy here in order to give our players the best possible chance. What I would just say here is, given how close we are, given that we are right on the cusp of it, I think you would want these players to give that final push this week. And if they can secure everything properly, then you can take them out of the firing line there and give them the rest they need in the next sort of 2 weeks or so. And that's it, by the way. So, if Casual, if you want to go next, and then Drench, if you guys want to follow up, feel free.
Yeah, you said all the things right, man. The two games, they are crucial, and yeah, that's all. And about, if I am a footballer, I know what it feels like to win a next game, going for a next game, to be a win. And every team wants to win the next match, win the next match. That's how you build yourself a confidence. I don't want any Barca to lose any of these matches remaining. And I always want to put a fight and show a good performance. And yeah, the team, the player, the physios, they knows what to do and what they need to do in order to make their players fit and get their players fit. The last two, this 30 minutes we play against Real Madrid Copa del Rey, it was unexpected. Okay, the match was unexpected, and everybody knows how the match happened and what the how the refereeing decision affect us, and that's all. But yeah, man, it's football, and every footballer wants to win every match. And as fans, we want to win every matches. We want to see that our team will win every matches, and treble is dream on. Bring us the treble, man. That's all.
Well said.
Well,
All right, Casual, you're up next.
you mean me or Casual or?
Yes, Casual, you're up next. If you were
Drenched, you mean?
wanting to speak. Oh yeah. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. Well, I feel like I come this across quite often. Like, I mean, to say go for the treble, I respect that, but at the end of the day, you also need to look at Inter and Real Madrid. I'd say let me change a little bit to what I'm trying to say. If we had our best 11, and we all know our best 11, and we had that available with Koundé, Lewa also fit, I'd say, sure, that's a bit more likely, but we have Koundé and Lewa is still up in the air. I feel like Koundé, and like we also don't have the Koundé-Lamine connection available against Inter, and I feel like that also changes things up a tiny bit. However, slightly, it might does, you know. And I feel like if we go through against Inter, fantastic. But to also do it against Real Madrid for a fourth time this season, we're asking for a lot. I'm sorry, we're asking for a lot, and I don't think Real Madrid will let that happen.
Yeah, how many players did Real Madrid, means now how many players are out of the squad from Real Madrid? You see, they have 4 defenders just available. They have 4 forwards just available. So injuries are everywhere, and Real Madrid is right now, means they are far below us. Their level is far below us down. I believe that. I personally believe that. And Koundé is, I think Balde is a big miss than Koundé. So I think Balde will
I
be
totally
back.
agree with you on that. That's
Yeah,
not the point.
Balde is a big miss that Koundé, because if Lamine, you can put Lamine anywhere and Lamine do Lamine's thing. And Eric, I think Eric will do a good job. Eventually, not Eric. If we can put Araujo also can do a good job for Real Madrid.
I'm sorry, just to add to that, correct me if I'm wrong, but Koundé allows for Lamine to be a little bit more, like drift, like Koundé, like keeps the width so Lamine can drift a little bit inside and do, like you say, Lamine things. If Lamine is to say, keep the width, he's a little bit more isolated, and sure, he can still do great things, don't get me wrong, but I think he's more comfortable with Koundé being out wide for him.
That's just one player, and I don't think that's a big miss than Balde. So I think
That's not the point.
Balde will be
Balde
back.
is a way bigger miss. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Balde will be back. I think the team will gel together, and I think we can beat Inter. Yeah.
I think we
I'm
can,
sorry
but
to say.
also to have Real Madrid up, that's going to.
I think we can beat Inter, and we can beat Real Madrid with a big scoreline, I will say. Yeah.
So basically, let me just get this straight. I believe we win against Inter, we win against Real Madrid, and we win against Espanyol, and basically then the league is secured, right? And then Champions League.
Right. The league can be secured on the Real Madrid game if Real Madrid lose today or drops a point today. And it's too much possible because Celta Vigo is in a great form. They scored 3 goals against us. Last game they scored, I think, 3 goals. They have a great form. And Real Madrid had a great injury. And their motivation will be also down because of the loss, I think. Yeah.
I hope so. That's going to be the case. Don't get me wrong. I want the treble, but I also acknowledge my opponent in a way. And like I said before, I've talked to fans before, and they never take their opponents into account. Like, I also consider the fact Koundé is not fit, Lewa's not fit, and we have an established starting 11 which plays the best football in the world. If you make some adjustments there, it's going to affect the team. However, as slightly as May does, and I'm hoping for the best. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to manage my expectations, if you will.
I hear your point. I hear your point. And again, Drenched and Rajdeep, thank you both very, very much for joining us here at the Blaugranagram full-time show. I think that pretty much wraps up this edition of the full-time show, and again, thank you very much for joining us.
I'm sorry, before you're going to do that,
Yes.
may I ask you one question as a host? Because I've read on your account La Liga would apparently impose some new FFP rules.
Sorry,
I believe
say that again?
La Liga was planning to implement new FFP rules, right? Like, I believe something along the lines of you're allowed to pay for one player and then have two free agents coming in, but you need to make revenue to compensate for it, or something along those lines, I believe.
Correct, yes.
So how viable are those claims? Because I haven't read them from other news accounts or whatever.
No, so at this point, it's still not 100% secured. We're still waiting for final confirmation with regards to how that's gonna be implemented for the next season. And as always, we'll obviously update as soon as we know more. So that's the response on that. Pretty much is it looks very likely, but it's not fully set in stone yet.
Do you also know how our FFP situation will look like for the summer? Say if we win the treble, the most optimistic outcome. I know then we get more revenue, so better FFP chances, I believe, as well.
Yes, of course. So the revenue obviously does affect the FFP situation for the club and the 1-to-1 and all that. It's still in the air in terms of depending on the players sold, depending on whether players sign contracts with reduced wages or wages over installments. So it's still very much up in the air with regards to that. Personally, I think that Barcelona's situation will be much better in the summer.
Are we able to go for Nico?
Honestly, that really depends. I think it is possible, but it really depends on what Athletic Club asks for, what his agent asks, his agents, his representatives, what commission they want, the wage he asks for. It depends on a lot of factors in terms of that. And also whether it's paid in installments or not, obviously also plays a part in terms of what Barcelona has to pay now versus later. But yeah, I would say it's looking better this summer than it has done in the previous windows for sure. And obviously, as always, we'll always keep you updated on social media and on our website, Blaugranagram.com, when something new comes to light, whether that's through our own sources or whether that's through other news outlets, in which case we do cite them for their reports. But yeah, it is looking likely that Barcelona would be able to secure Nico Williams, depending on the fees in play.
What budget would you speculate?
Nico's release clause is 60 million. The main question is, do you think means Barcelona should go for Nico?
I'm honestly a bit on the fence because I would have personally I would take Nico over Rafa Leao. Personally, that's me.
Yes.
I watched his game live in Milan, the 0-0 against Genoa on their 125th anniversary. And that's a game where they have to win. He looked lost for most of that match, and that's been his MO really this season. Is he's had brilliant flashes here and there, but he hasn't looked super consistent.
I'm mostly looking at that Nico Yamal partnership. That's going to feed our attack for the next decade pretty much, if everything goes right, of course. But if we win the treble, do we have a 80 million budget for the summer, to sign maybe Venderson? I believe that's a bit more expensive, let's say 40 with Nico, that's 100 then, but I don't know. Player sales will also be there, but I think 60 million, I think at the very least we will be able to sign Nico if we win the treble.
I think so. I think so too.
Who wants Vanderson? Vanderson? Oh man.
I've read some good reports on Vanderson, and I believe he is also able to play left back.
Yeah. Oh, that. Okay. Yeah. The Vanderson Barcelona linked with Vanderson. Yeah. Sorry, man.
You don't rate Vanderson that much?
Yeah, I did. I confused with Vanderson and another player. So sorry.
Oh, you were thinking about Henderson from Ajax.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, I'm about Nico. There's many options. Like we can go for Barcola. I think also he's a crazy player. I think Barcola or Dule.
I
Any
would
one of them.
I would be very surprised if either of them left the club, to be completely honest,
Yeah.
especially with how Paris season is going, Champions League or not. I mean, at this stage, they're 20 points clear in Ligue 1. You know, they've
They
secured the
lost
league.
today, na brother?
They did,
Did they
yes.
lost today?
They did, yes.
Yeah,
But the league is
they-
secured. It doesn't matter to them anymore. It's whatever.
but they lost. It's not unbeaten run.
That is true. That is true. And they
They
very
can-
rarely, to my recollection, I don't think they've gone unbeaten in Ligue 1 for
No,
years,
no
if
one
ever.
ever gone unbeaten. Yeah.
No. And again, that's an interesting contrast as well to how La Liga is going should both teams end up in the final, right? It does, it's very, very different because Paris can afford to rest their players in every league match if they wanted to leading up to the final, whereas Barca, if they win the league, yes, they can, but they haven't been able to for the last 5 games prior. So it's a different outlook coming into those games, even though Paris, of course, have the semifinal against Arsenal.
Yeah. Do you think Paris can get through this? Means Arsenal can Arsenal?
Yeah, Paris will go through.
Yeah.
Paris will go through 100%.
You
I don't
think so?
think Arsenal. Yeah, Arsenal's not in contention. Totally, no.
Too much sure. I think Dembele is injured and Partey will be back. They can do well. I think the game should be tie in 120 minutes. I think it will be.
I could see Arsenal scoring a goal or maybe 2 and Paris responding. I could see it going 120. And I mean, if you had asked me a year ago, I would not have backed Paris to get to the final. I think now they do have that in them. Arsenal they have sort of an advantage, but again, when you compare it to Paris' status in Ligue 1, it's very different. Arsenal have nothing to fight for in the league. They've lost the Premier League. Liverpool were recently crowned champions. They are 15 points away from Liverpool at this point, even at the point of the league already being done and wrapped up. But all they have to fight for is the Champions League. Paris have won the league and they have the Champions League to fight for. That's a bigger feat for them than for Arsenal to just win the Champions League. I don't think Arsenal have what it takes, to be completely honest, to get to the final and win it. I would be less surprised to see Paris make it through the final. And then depending on who they meet, it's everyone's guess. I think if they meet Barca and Barca have Leva ready at that point,
And Kunde.
and Kunde as well, we're hearing reports that Lewandowski might even get minutes against Inter, which obviously, if he can stay fit until the final and Barca do make it through to the final, that gives a completely different outlook. Although I think Ferran Torres has done very well in the minutes he's been given. So at that point, Barca would have a different team available.
Yes, and that's what I also wanted to add. I feel like if we have our best 11 with Lewa and Kunde available, we steamroll everybody. I don't care about either Arsenal or PSG in that final. We steamroll them.
Right.
Especially with the rest, because what Barca DNA said a moment ago, if we kill the league in time and we're allowed to rest and say win against Inter and against Real Madrid and Espanyol and secure the league and are allowed to rest the players for like 2 weeks or a bit less, but long enough, then yes, and with everyone available, we will win the treble. We will win the treble, and that's not even like I've been really doubtful this season, but that's like I feel like there's no way we will lose that final.
No, I fully hear that, and I honestly see it the same way. I'm curious, Peter, do you see it differently? Because for me, if Barca make it through to the final and they beat Real Madrid in the Clásico, I don't see any way I don't see a reality where Barcelona would lose that final.
Yeah, it's a good question. For me, I think that there is a measured approach to take here when it comes to Barcelona and the Champions League final, and it really depends on the opponents themselves. Looking at PSG and looking at what they would have in terms of a structure and could they cause us issues, there are things that you would look to and be concerned about with PSG in a sense that they would be able to stretch the back line. They would have the pace in behind to be able to stretch the back line, to be able to catch us potentially napping if we're not concentrated. And we've seen this team, Barcelona, at points in the season where they've not began matches well. There have been times when that high line has been breached and they've been able to ship 1 or 2 goals and given their opponents a leg up in the game. And so against PSG, with Kvaratskhelia, with Dembele, with Desiree Doué, with Barcola on the bench
I'm
as
sorry,
well.
Barcelona, respectfully, I'm not worried about that because we have the offside trap.
Yeah, that's the thing. Regardless of what you think of the offside trap, you still have to respect what your opponents have to offer.
I
And
don't feel like that's the case because Madrid was.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
Here's the thing. No, it's fine. You still have to be wary of what your opponents can do. Because even when we look at the games against, Real Madrid and Bayern, we've been told the same story as Barca fans all season, right? We've been told, okay, the high line is going to be exposed against Bayern. It's going to be exposed against Real Madrid. It's going to be exposed here, there, and everywhere. We've been told that same story all season long, and we've gone through moments where it has been exposed, has been breached, but this team has always been able to score more. And this is the point that I'm getting to is you have to respect what your opponents can do. Liverpool found that out the hard way when they went to PSG and did nothing. They didn't show up. And they had their chances and they didn't take them. And they ended up paying the price on penalty kicks. With Barcelona, the key thing with us is this team can outscore anybody. So if there's one thing that I'm not going to doubt going into the Champions League final is we can outscore PSG. We can outscore Arsenal. That isn't an issue. So for me, the keys to the game and the keys for Barcelona winning a Champions League final against PSG, for example, would be making sure that you defend properly. If you have the high line set up properly, for the most part, you may ship 1 or 2 goals, but that PSG backline is vulnerable. That PSG defense is the same defense that went to Aston Villa and lost the game on the night and could have easily, if not for Donnarumma, been pushed into extra time. So against PSG, I would generally have the confidence that we could beat them, but I wouldn't expect it to be a complete blowout. I would expect it to be a sort of a 3-2, maybe a 5-3, maybe a 4-2 type of game. That's how I would see it. Against Arsenal, I would be a lot more confident, especially because they don't have a recognized center forward. We would be able to control possession. We would be able to dominate them in midfield. We'd be able to pin them back, and they would not be able, especially, to deal with Lamine Yamal. They would really, really struggle in that circumstance, and I'd be confident that we could also beat Arsenal. Again, given how they sit up structurally, it would probably be a bit of a tighter game, maybe a 2-0, maybe a 3-1 type of game. And with Arsenal, the main threat that they will pose for Barcelona, for Barca will be, in my mind, set pieces. That'll be where they'll be the most dangerous. With PSG, it'll be counterattacks. With Arsenal, it'll be set pieces. I mean, in both games, there are things that Barca have to get right in order to make sure that they win these matches. And for me, against PSG, it's making sure that when you do get your chances, that you put them away, and that you keep the high line in sync, as you've done against Madrid and Benfica and Atletico Madrid prior. Against Arsenal, be tight on set pieces, make sure you defend those properly, and for the most part, just do your job. Because going forward, Arsenal will be able to give you the ball, right? They're not going to dominate you in possession. They're unlikely to win the midfield battle if your players are fully fit. And therefore, with the amount that you're going to create, if Leva's fit, if Rafinha is there, if Varane is there, and everyone's in the right spirits as they arrive in the game, I would have full confidence, right, in us beating Arsenal. With PSG, it's a bit tighter, but I would still back us to win. But there are certain things that we have to do and avoid in order to make sure that we, win these matches. So that's what I would say.
But I feel like at that point, I don't think they will fumble it. They fought like warriors for the entire season. So I feel like the likes of Rafinha and hell, even if Gavi's gonna make minutes, we don't know, especially with today. I feel like we have the mentality. Also in Nico, like we have all these players.
One thing, Gavi is not injured. Gavi is just a cramp.
Oh.
Yeah, it's confirmed. Yeah.
Has it been reported? I haven't been...
Yeah,
No.
Yep.
Gerard
It's been confirmed.
Oh, okay. Bit behind on the news, my bad.
No worries, you're good.
Anyway, if the treble does happen, I feel like, hell, I'm going to even give a twist to this entire conversation. I've had this conversation with myself, quite frankly, before. I feel like if we win that treble, I've been saying it to myself for a while now, that's going to be massive for Barca's future, especially with the depth that we have. Because then you put a stamp on the football world and like, oh, Barca is back. We won a treble with these youngsters. Suddenly, this destination at FC Barcelona looks a lot more comfortable for players to come in, like Nico, like Vanderson, hell, maybe even some players I'm not even aware of at the moment. Also being able to finance them through that treble revenue. It's going to be important for our competing chances, let's say.
Right. I hear that 100%. And, I mean, however this season ends is going to set up the next season in more ways than one. You're talking momentum, you're talking financially, you're talking, Hansi Flick will know what his best 11 is. The players that are fringe players will know what their roles are. It's just going to set up the season so differently. And it's going to set the tone and the precedence for this Hansi Flick era of FC Barcelona. It's going to make everything very, very different depending on whether Barca win the treble or win the league or win the Champions League or whatever. It's going to be very, very decisive in how next season shapes up.
I'd be very happy, and I hope the players would also be happy if they win a domestic treble and make it to the final four of the Champions League. I feel like no one can complain, right? Or is that just me?
Realistically, if you look back at the start of the season, even though Hansi Flick was appointed, everyone was happy. No one expected this. Realistically, no one expected this. No one expected Barca to even make it past the round of 16. No one expected Barca to be on par for a treble. No one expected Barca to be beating Real Madrid left, right, and center. No one expected Barcelona to come into a Clásico with as many points in advance as they have. Even if Real Madrid beat Celta tomorrow or today, it's still going to be a 4-point advantage coming into a Clásico. So even if Barca drop the ball on that Clásico and they lose it, they still are a point ahead. So no one expected this. I mean, even if the season ended right now and Barca crashed out in the semifinal of the Champions League, I don't think anyone would have the right to complain, because the fact that Barca made it this far with some of these players that at the start of the season, people were calling for Rafinha to leave. People were saying, why do Barca have an old man like Inigo Martinez in defense? People were saying, oh, we miss Ronald Araujo. Then Ronald Araujo came back and they said, oh, Ronald Araujo, we don't need him. We have Paco Barti. There's been so many ups and downs this season in so many ways. I don't think anyone has any right to complain about how the season has gone, even if it ends with Barca winning just La Liga and the Copa. It's still a very, very excellent season, especially if you think about what Hansi picked up after Xavi left. And what
Xavi was the same manager. Xavi was the same manager who said that we couldn't compete with Real Madrid, and he took that exact same squad with Dani Olmo added to it, and he made it tick. And hell, he made it tick. He made us compete for everything.
Right. It's been a season that I don't think anyone expected. I would be very surprised if someone expected it. I would bet my house on whatever they're guessing to do next, because there's.
I'm going to say I follow this La Liga account, Michael, on Twitter. I don't know if you're familiar.
Oh,
he predicted.
He's a friend of ours.
Michael predicted Barca to win La Liga. I was on the fence. I'm gonna be honest, but he might have been onto something. He didn't predict the treble, I think, but if it's going to happen, Michael's like, I feel like one of the few guys that has some bragging rights because Absolutely. He kind of predicted it.
Right. I mean, for me, the reason why I was when I saw that because I saw that prediction at the start of the season as well, and I agreed with it because in my head, Real Madrid are getting their marquee signing in Kylian Mbappe, who's been that has been in the works for years, right? For years we heard he was going to Real Madrid, and then it finally happened. It was always going to take him a while to fit in. It was always going to take him a while to fit into the league and the system that Ancelotti has and the players, and not clash egos with Vini Jr.
Exactly.
That and Jude Bellingham, who's also really had an inflated head since joining Madrid.
Yes, but that's also the problem with the Galactico model, I feel like, in general.
I agree 100%.
I believe that what Xavi said, that we can't compete with Real Madrid. It's not like something like Hansi can do it, but Xavi deserves a lot of credit, man. He brought this
100%.
team, he brought Lamine, he brought Kubarsi, and I think it's a self-belief.
Casual. I'm sorry. Don't get it twisted. I was one of the guys that defended Xavi to hell and back, almost through its entire tenure as a Barca manager. So don't get me wrong. I'm not disrespecting Xavi.
No one is disrespecting Xavi. I think we should give Xavi some credit too, and let me complete. And I will say that Xavi deserves a lot of credit. And like Lamine said, that after winning the Euros, I think we can go compete again, competing for treble. Like Pedri is fit. Who the hell thinks Pedri will be fit for the full season? Touchwood. And yeah. Like Xavi can't get a fully fit Pedri. He can't get a Gavi who is fully fit. Gavi had an ACL when Barcelona was playing good. I remember on the November month, Barcelona was playing still good. We will compete with Madrid. And after going, the big miss for Madrid this season is Toni Kroos, and the same thing happened with us in the previous season. That is Busquets. The biggest miss.
Well, I feel like Pedri is doing a pretty damn good job, especially if he has Bernal next to him in the future.
Yeah,
Casado, definitely, and I feel like Casado hasn't been getting his flowers enough. If we're actually going to talk about Casado.
No, he hasn't. And again, that's always been the thing with Pivot. Right?
You wanna know something funny?
Sure.
I'm Dutch, and I prefer Casado over Frankie. I'm Dutch, like bro, I should be backing Frankie, but I'm backing Casado.
No, but to be honest, Casado has been excellent in every way, and it's also. I mean, the thing, Peter and I spoke about this. We have a podcast on Blaugranagram called The Driven Shot. It's on Spotify and Mundo
Is it on YouTube?
Channel. Yes, it's on Mundo Deportivo's YouTube channel.
Could you link it to me, please?
Yes, absolutely. I'm trying to figure out if I can send something here. I think I can send it as a link under the spaces. Give me
sure. I'm obviously like new to these spaces. Are people like okay to like be allowed to like join and come and have a chat here? Is that
yes,
how
absolutely.
It goes?
Absolutely. The point with these spaces is, first of all, for us to commentate the matches and cover them in a way that makes you feel like you're watching the game. It's not so much meant to be a watch along, because watch alongs in our experience at least have not been very successful, whether it's on Blaugranagram or elsewhere. So what we've tried to do with this is it's more so of like a radio show you're listening to, and you're listening to the commentary. And then at halftime and full time, we get people in and they can talk and they can say all their opinions and we can have a nice discussion about them. So that's been the point, with regards to this. So I will send you the episode. Let me see if I can find it here. I think it is this one, I believe. So we have, this was the one for the Mallorca game. I will link the one there. Give me 1 second. Just getting it to work.
No worries.
There we go. There and there. So that's the one for the Mallorca game. We've done this season.
I think you just became. I think you just became my highest followed follower. I think.
Very happy to
So
hear
that's
that.
I guess.
We're very happy to hear that. So that was the 14th one. The last episode is this one. This was Peter discussing the right after the Champions League match. So that one will be linked as well. But you can see the playlist in there. If you go in there, you can see the playlist and you can watch all the episodes. And they're also on Spotify, etc. So the way it works is it's myself, Omar Hawash, Peter Menema, who's Barça DNA, and we have Jamie Coles as well. So we kind of go back and forth on who's on the episodes based on availability and such. So on that we discuss everything Barcelona. And at this point, I'm honestly considering this episode being that episode of The Driven Shot and having you guys on. So I'll see if that's possible.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm totally fine with that.
So we'll see if that's possible. I'm trying to figure out. There we go. And the second link is the latest episode. And you can obviously also search on Spotify, etc., if you want to listen to it on those platforms as well.
Okay.
So that's something that we do as well. And on there we discuss anything Barcelona related. We recently had Nima, who's a huge voice in the Inter community, as a guest on The Driven Shot to talk about previewing Barça v Inter right before the game. So that was an interesting one as well. And yeah, with these spaces, the whole point is to connect with you, our community. That's the point of these spaces as much as anything.
I like it.
I'm happy to hear that. So yeah, I mean, feel free to tune in every time we have these and feel free to share it with people. Because again, the whole point of these is to further the connection that we've built with our community over the years and give you guys a platform that you may not otherwise have, to voice your opinion and hopefully get you some followers that way. And we can have a good discussion about it.
It's not for me about the followers. It's about having a fun discussion here and different point of views and whatnot.
Absolutely. And that's our goal as well. But if we can help people get on their way with something, then why not, you know?
Yeah.
I see that Casual was dropped for some reason, so I just invited him back in. Not sure if I'm guessing he has a point he'd like to add.
Net disconnection.
That's okay.
Some
What
issue problem.
Maybe another topic of discussion to maybe discuss.
Yeah, go for it.
What would you guys do, say, if we had 60 million to spend, and let's say not outside of Nico Williams, like you have 60 million to spend on the squad. How would you guys spend it?
I would get a striker.
Yeah, I can
personally. Peter, go.
Yeah. For me to mix, it depends on what your plans are. So for me, I do want a striker for Barcelona, but at the same time, part of me wonders what the plan is with Lewandowski long term, because I think that Barcelona do want a striker, but they're looking at 2026. There seems to be some sort of idea inside the club that in 2026 there'll be some striker that'll be available, whether it is someone like Isak, whether it is Shesko, whether it is I don't think Haaland at all, but whether it's that, Haaland, whether it's Julian Alvarez, for example.
I think Haaland too much. Means my gut feeling says after Pep leaving, Haaland will not stay in Premier League. After he broke Alan Shearer's record, I think he will come. He will eventually come to Barca. I think.
Yeah, I think something like that is possible. The tough part is the fact that he literally signed like a 9-year contract.
9.5 extension.
And that Man City will likely demand a lot of money.
Yeah, there is
exactly.
Yeah, it really makes you think, like, in comparison to La Liga, we aren't able to, like, sign a contract, or our players aren't able to sign such a long contract. I wish we could do that for Lamine, say.
Or Pedri.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or anyone, like, Pedri, Kubarsi, Lamine, it would be nice. It would be really, really nice. But that's the thing. So I do think that Barcelona long term have their eye on someone, right? So because of that, for me, with the money, what I would be looking to is I want proper cover. So when it comes to left back, we would have Martin and likely Geoffrey Torrens, who's a really young talent coming.
I was really looking at Alex Valle,
who,
but I'm not sure about that anymore.
Yeah.
Because I've heard.
The thing is, yeah, I think that's the thing. I wanted Valle initially.
Yeah, I was really
in the
confused
summer to
about
stay.
that move, by the way. I don't know why Flick.
Yeah.
Exactly. Me too. I was really impressed by him in preseason. He was excellent for me. And I thought he was going to stay, but then we opted for Gerard Martin, and he went to Celtic, and now he's at Como. And it looks like Como are going to buy him for.
But
for
is it
5
like
million.
does Barca have a say in the matter or not?
They'll probably include a buyback clause because I think they are going to cash in on him, but they'll probably include some sort of buyback clause to where they could sign him and then sell him on in the future for more money. Or they could, if they genuinely believed in him, right, they could bring him back.
Barca do have a say because he does belong to Barca, but he's loaned out to Como. So Barca can, at the end of the day, if they wanted to, they could just say no. But obviously you don't want to keep an unhappy player. So if he's happy with Como on loan and comes back and he says, well, I don't really see my chance here because you're playing Hector Fort and you're playing Gerard Martin. I don't think I have a chance here. They're not going to want to keep him happy because it's going to affect morale. So do you
feel like would it be a stylistic fit or not with
I would personally take him over Gerard Martin from a stylistical perspective. Personally, that's what I would do. I think he fits that style way more. He's more of a like-to-like with Balde than Gerard Martin will be because Gerard Martin is more defensive. But even then, I don't think Martin is incredible defensively. Like, it's not like for me, it's not like a Dani Alves situation where it's like he gives you so much going forward and pretty much nothing defensively at some point, at some stages. I don't feel that way about Balde. I think Balde is solid defensively. He's not incredible, but he's solid.
I'm going to quote Neil here. Neil always says Balde carries the flank. That's just the best way to describe Balde. He does everything on that left side, and it allows just for Rafinha to basically be in the Ballon d'Or contention.
Right. No, right. He's absolutely been key in Rafinha's explosion this season.
Thank you.
And he really he makes such a difference down that left side. I don't think Martin will ever be that kind of player because I think Martin's brain and stylistical fit is wired differently. And it really depends on what Hansi Flick wants. If Hansi Flick wants two defenders on the left that both offer you the same, then Alex Valle is the no-brainer option. But if he wants on the left someone who's a bit more defensive, then it makes sense to have Gerard Martin, but then why not have that on the right as well? Because you have Hector Fort, who's incredible going forward. We saw that today.
That should have been a goal.
It really should have. Especially also, the Lamine backheel flick was just so nonchalant as well. I was really disappointed that wasn't a goal. You could probably hear that in my voice when I was play. And again, it depends on what he's going for because I don't think it makes sense to have a back. Like for me, if you had Lamine, if it was reversed, so if Hector Fort was the defensive one and Gerard Martin was the attacking one, it would make sense because it allows Rafinha to drift inside. And Lamine is good even when he's hugging the touchline, but he would have the entire right side to himself. That's not the case. It's the other way around. And Lamine works better when he has someone who can help him up there, which is usually Jules Koundé. And at this point, Hector Fort, which is why it works. I don't think it works with Gerard Martin that way with Rafinha because Rafinha does need that cover. And while Martin gives him cover behind so he doesn't have to track back as much, it's just not the same. For me, I don't understand why Alex Valle was sent on loan when Gerard Martin was kept because stylistically speaking, Valle fits better.
That's what I'm saying as well. And I'm going to do you one even better. Flick could actually say, okay, I'm going to sell Martin off and Valle is coming in and you get some additional funds and maybe it's going to sound extreme, but maybe you could even capitalize on that Araujo deal if he wants to leave, only if he wants to leave. I don't want Araujo gone. That's not what I'm saying. But then the summer would look even more open, if you will. You could look at multiple players coming in. I don't know.
let's play with the idea that Araujo does leave. Who would you bring in? Let's suggest.
I don't want Araujo to leave.
Let's say 60 mil. I don't want him to leave. I don't think he's going to leave.
I think he's going to, because it's a really, really weird thing that he put into his contract with the 65 million release thing. It was really out of character, and I was really surprised by it. But given the financial constraints, and if he's willing to, I wouldn't want it, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, because then we can use that money elsewhere. And we also need a new winger, and we have, I believe, even in Juvenile A, I believe we have 2 promising center backs coming up. So like that there are options, but you have to be careful on what you bring in. And it's also like if you sell Gerard Martin, a small profile, so you're going to capitalize on like maybe 10 to 15 million. That'd be nice. That'd be nice to start with if we win the treble. Like this is really speaking in the best case scenario. We win the treble, we sell off a Martin for 15 million, and you get back Valle, and you have a new player, so you don't need to like attend to that left back position. You can get Nico Williams in, and maybe Araujo is sold, and you get Vanderson in as well. And maybe you could even look at Grimaldo, but I don't know how far that could go.
For me, here's what I would do, right? Looking at the situation, depending on what we want to do in terms of replacing Araujo. None of us here actively want him to leave. I think that he gives us a lot in terms of his general profile of a player. But, if he was to get his head swayed by Juventus in the summer.
Yes, and that's what I'm really afraid of.
If he felt as if he couldn't sort of make it in Hansi Flick's system, and then Juve, depending on what they do in terms of securing Champions League footballs, well, that'll be important. But if they did, and they swayed him over, then for me, the player I would look to would be Dean Huijsen from Bournemouth. He's the player who I would look to right away to fill in for Araujo as a player who I would bring into the club. Someone who is a very, very good ball-playing centre-back, someone who complements Kubarsi very, very well, someone who's also young, who's Spanish, who's tall, who's also got a decent profile and can improve physically as well, who can develop his game, and one who would fit in almost seamlessly.
What player did you just name? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Dean Huijsen.
Oh, okay, Dean Huijsen. I thought you were talking, but I wasn't sure. Okay, carry on.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, so he'd be the player who I would look to.
Yeah. Do you think Hansi allowed 2 young defenders to lead a Barca line? I don't think so. I think if Araujo leaves, we will bring Ta and might sell Christensen also. And Eric, Ta, Kubarsi, and Inigo, I think those 4 are there, and might be some Cuenca or Cospo maybe brought in.
Yes, those are the juvenile players, I believe.
Yeah, for the back.
Yeah, so okay. So what I would say to that is this, right? I don't necessarily, and it really depends on Dean Huijsen's progress in general, but I don't see Dean Huijsen coming in and being an established sort of starter in his first season. Because I think from what we've seen from Inigo Martinez this season under Flick, and how really good he's been across the whole season, and how much he really suits Hansi Flick's high line and his system, especially given that he is left-footed and Dean Huijsen is right-footed. I don't see Dean Huijsen arriving at Barca and necessarily being a starter. He will get game time. Of course, he will get minutes. He will rotate with Kubarsi, and of course, he'll give rest to Inigo. But I don't see him coming in and having the pressure to be a starter week in, week out. And I think as well with Dean Huijsen, it's the sort of situation where it's the perfect blend, where you would have him here. Inigo Martinez likely would have, I would say, 1 to 2 seasons. I think in around 2 seasons, he should be sort of let go, whether he retires or wants to go somewhere else. But I think Barcelona should be thinking at this stage of time, okay, there's life after Inigo Martinez at some point, right? Within the next probably 1 to 2 years. that would be enough time for Dean Houston to arrive, to develop, to grow, to be fully acclimated there into the team, right? To be fully ready there to grow into his role as a Barcelona player, and then ultimately at that point be ready to start and then go forward from there. So that's what I would say regarding a player like Dean Houston. I don't expect him to have the pressure in his first season to be, a full-on starter. Of course, he could show up and be brilliant, because most of us didn't expect Inigo Martinez to be as good as he's been this season, right? He's been really, really, really good. And so Dean Houston could show up and have a similar impact. I'm not sure he would, but he could show up and have that impact, and then Flick could then trust him to start. But what I think is more realistic is him having that first season to break the ice, to get embedded into the team, and then beyond that point, potentially then begin to start more games going forward. And then looking into next season and beyond, maybe he then takes on that role as being a starter in this team.
I don't want this season to invest on a centre back. Apart from Ta, if he is free, then let him in. If Araujo sold, if next season we can go, I think Bastoni, man, he's a dream centre back for me. Bastoni and Kovacic. What are those two players?
So, I'm sorry.
I would love to see Bastoni, to be honest, at Barcelona. I would love it. But I also think that he's maybe getting, I think he's maybe getting to a point where he's almost getting a little bit too old for that move. In my head, at least.
He is 26 right now, I think. Maybe some 28 or 27, I think. It's not a bad age for the centre back.
That is true. That is true. I mean, Inigo is in his 30s, and he hasn't been a bad one as well. So
So Balde is reportedly missing the second leg.
Yeah, we're hearing reports from Viantes that he's not expected to be playing against Milan. So we'll see what happens.
I believe Dejantes, like Gerard Romero, I believe.
Gerard Romero,
yeah. I believe Javi Miguel is more reliable if it comes to injuries, I believe. So we might have a window of doubt there, but I'm not quite sure.
It is honest. I mean, to be honest, it's always difficult with injuries, because the point I think to be made here is that even if he is physically given the green light, I don't think that we'd see him fully for the game anyway. And given that he didn't train with the team today,
he was. I believe he was. I saw a picture. I believe, right? Or am I mistaken?
No, not with the team alone.
Not with the team, but individual training.
Yes.
Individual.
He was
doing individual training with it. Yeah.
And that's usually how
but not with the group.
So usually they would do individual training.
Exactly.
And they do their own warm-ups and recovery. And then when they're getting closer, they'd get 1 or 2 sessions with the team. That's usually how it goes. And then they're declared fit.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the plan. We deploy a B team in San Siro and we look ahead at La Liga. I'm done with the Champions League, man. Come on.
Come on, man. Why are you so heartbroken? Like we can't make it. We can make it, bro. This team has every mentality. This team has.
Yes, it is. But last game, I feel like we literally made miracles happen in order to still be in competing chance. I mean, come on.
I mean, to be fair, we likely did the same thing against Real Madrid as well. The fact that we were literally 2-1 down in that game and had 10 minutes to guess ourselves and did. So,
okay, what miracle workers? I get it.
Exactly. I mean, seriously, we did it against Celta Vigo. We did it against Benfica. We've done it twice against Real Madrid. Right? You could even argue today was part of that as well. We were down 1-0 at halftime and still turned it around. So these guys are just weird.
Don't give me hope. Don't give me hope, man. Come on. Don't give me hope.
Okay. Here's what I'll say, right? I'm not giving you hope. They've given you 2 trophies.
Okay, you're not. That's not helping, okay?
I'm just saying, like, I'm not the one giving you hope. They've given you 2 trophies. They're 4 points ahead in the league, and they're 90 minutes away from a Champions League final. I haven't done anything. They're the ones giving you trophies at this point. So here's the thing, right? I'll just say this. It's sad that we're not going to have Balde, because I think he's actually really, really important for a game like this if he was fully fit, because Dumfries needs to be in check. And I think that without Balde there, Dumfries does have a lot of freedom to cause damage on that flank as he did in the first leg. Part of me wonders, especially, it's even tougher now with Koundé being absent too, because it makes things more complicated. Because now, I'm
How
having to
about
think of what
around on the
Hansi Flick would
left?
do. That was my thought, but I don't think it suits Araujo to be there in terms of playing on that side. I think Araujo on the right makes more sense to take care of Koundé, right? To like replace him there. It's a tough one because for me, my thought was, I wonder if Hansi Flick will play Inigo Martinez on the
No,
left,
you will not.
because Inigo does have
Yeah,
he does have some experience there, and he moved him there last week. He moved Inigo to the left when we had to make that change there against Inter. He moved Inigo to left back. So my question kind of lingers: would Flick do that again for this game against Inter, or would he play with Gerard Martin? That's my question for Flick.
Yeah, he should
And
play Gerard Martin, I think. Don't you
it's
agree?
tough for me, you know. It's tough for me. I don't think Gerard Martin necessarily handled
I will
Dumfries
say
too
one
well on
thing.
that
If
side. I think
watch the first half against Barca versus Inter again, you will see Gerard Martin cover the flank and Barca, and they are able to sit down deep. And you don't expect Inigo to run up and down continuously, because a fullback's energy and a centre back's energy is very much different. Inigo doesn't have the leg
yeah.
up and down too much. So I think they should play Gerard Martin, and they should focus on more right, like Lavi, to do his magic, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter what you do, right, in this game, there's going to be a risk factor here, because on one hand, what I would say is this: Inigo Martinez defensively would naturally give you more in terms of like 1v1 ability, in terms of physicality. He would give you a bit more. The problem with Inigo in a fullback role is you're putting a lot of pressure on him to try and keep up with someone like Denzel Dumfries and for pace, and he doesn't have it. The issue with Gerard Martin is you're gonna have a lot of these similar issues. The only thing is Gerard Martin is more used to playing as left back. He has a bit more of an engine than Inigo does. And Gerard Martin, it's a strange one. Gerard Martin gives you more in the final third from the left back sort of slot. Inigo Martinez would be different. If he was playing at left back, he wouldn't be overlapping. What he would be doing is he'd be actually creating, but from a deeper role. We've seen him this season, especially against the likes of Atletico Madrid, where his creativity, we saw it against Real Madrid too, where his creativity stems from deep. He can play really, really good balls there to break the lines, and actually to play in early crosses that can play players in behind. We saw him create the chance there for Levo as well against Atletico and help us score. So if he was to play left back, his role would have to be radically different. Like, you couldn't expect him to do what Balde or Martin does going forward. He'd be deeper in the pitch. And that's sort of the concern for Barca, is that with Koundé gone, you don't really have that sort of balance where you have one person bombing or one person defending, right? Because if you have Eric Garcia, who would likely be playing there, or Araujo, you'd be depending on those guys to give you the width going forward. And it's just, I don't know if that would work. And I also feel like Rafinha's game would suffer a lot. So it's almost like you have to play Gerard Martin in a sense, just to try and give Rafinha a little bit more, I guess, freedom to be himself, right? Freedom to really get into those pockets. If you play Gerard Martin, what you guarantee yourself is width, right? Even though it's not perfect, he's not Balde, but he at least allows you to stretch the pitch consistently, and that gives Rafinha more freedom there to show his best qualities. While if you play Inigo Martinez, you have to play him a little bit deeper. Maybe it helps you in transition, but at the same time, if he's put into a 1v1 situation against, Dumfries, I can't see that ending well for him, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, brother, you explain it well.
Well, first of all, I hope Ball is going to make it. Part of me,
We all do.
yeah, but part of me even would say, risk it for the biscuit. But that might be a bit
Yeah,
much.
I mean, it's a tough one. It's a tough call. Like if he's fit, if he's got just an outside chance, I would do the sort of thing where you put him out there for 45 to 60 minutes and then take him off. Like that's the kind of thing that I would do. I would hope that whilst he's out there, we could put 2-3 goals on the board, maybe, be up 2-0, maybe 3-1, maybe 3-0 at best, things go really, really well. And then try and take him off when you've got enough cover. It's just a matter of, is that a push too far? Do you want to avoid a relapse? Cause then if you lose him again, he's gone for the season, right? It's all over then. So that's the kind of risk you have with Valladolid. It's touch and go, whether you want to risk him and then risk losing him for the rest of the campaign, or you want to give him the night off against Inter and almost guarantee he's back for Real Madrid. But again, given our position in La Liga and given the injuries that Real Madrid have, I'd be okay with playing Gerard Martin against Real Madrid. Like we've done it already in the Copa del Rey, and Martin did very well up against Rodrigo. So I would be happy to almost, I don't want to say risk Balde because I don't want to force him out there, but if he has a chance, if it's the slimmest chance, I'd be happy to give him just 45 to 60 minutes, have him come off. If we need to rest him against Real Madrid because he's not feeling it, okay, play Gerard Martin. We can still beat Madrid, and then Balde can be kind of wrapped up in cotton wool until the final of the Champions League, and then build from there, right? So I'd be willing to take that measure.
I'm sorry, Barca DNA, but I'm also reading that Lautaro Martinez is also most likely out. It's more than a no than a yes, is what I'm reading. I'll share it in space.
Oh yeah. Feel free to do so. I was actually curious about Lautaro and whether he was going to make it.
Bro, I'm calling it now. They'll have their best 11 available. It's so BS what's happening over there. Like one moment, Varane is in doubt, and then he's ready. Meanwhile, they were promising us that Balde will be ready for the first leg, or getting our hopes up at the very least. It's a bit of like the opposite world with Inter. They're thinking players are out, but they come back. And over here, it's like, oh, we think they're going to be back, but then turns out it's not the case.
That's the thing, right? Because I thought that Marcus Thuram wouldn't be back for the first leg. Like I wasn't expecting him to even start, and yet he did.
Yes, in 30 seconds, mind you.
Exactly, right?
And that hurt so much. I was thinking to myself, this is what I get for looking up his injury status. This was just karma hitting me in the face, basically. That's how it felt to me at the moment. But then thankfully miracles happened and we drawed. And Rafinha just decided to like, okay, no, we're not going to lose. And he just did some insane business. We all saw.
Don't you all think that Inter is lucky on the match first leg? Inter is very much lucky, brother. Inter is too much lucky on this match. Barca almost does two mistakes on marking on corner set piece, and the first goal is simply a mistake of Kunde and not clearing the ball. I think we can avoid those mistakes and we can smash them. And yeah, I think we can smash them.
Yeah, I'm of the same mindset, mostly because Inter Milan, apart from the 2 set pieces, didn't cause us too many issues. I think a lot of the things that we suffered were of our own making, rather than Inter being absolutely brilliant. So I have the same mindset that if we can apply ourselves properly and defend those set pieces better, that we can cause Inter enough issues to win this game. I don't know if I would say that we win it comfortably, just because I think these players are very, very tired, and I think it's going to be tough to be able to do what we did against Dortmund, or Benfica, or, be able to win by such a big margin. But I do think these players have it in them to win like 3-2 or win, 3-1, like that sort of scoreline. I think is possible for the players.
Yes, they have 3 shots on target and they have 3 goals. That's luck. They are too much lucky.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, it just got us on the counter. They just made it so that they could profit off that high line.
By the way, let me ask you guys this. What about Inter do you most fear in terms of what they could give you in the second leg? Like, what about them as a team do you most fear? The obvious answer is set pieces, but I would just say, like, beyond that, what do you most fear about them, if anything?
Okay, so obviously having a handball be not acknowledged and given a penalty, and going to the Europa League is off the table. That's not a fear that is on the table this time. Looking at 2 years ago, I'm sorry. I'm not traumatized. You guys are. Anyway, what I'm most afraid of is a relapse in concentration. I'm really looking at our own players. Really, I feel like if we stick to our game plan, then we have the best chance. And I feel like Flick played like Flick's track record actually kind of tracks as well, because Flick had a hard time against Atletico in the first game he played against them with Barca, and then after the second game he played against them, it went better. Like Flick will probably analyze that game to hell and back and come up with some solutions. That's also something we could account for. And maybe, I believe Inter also lost against Roma in their own stadium, so they might they might be a little bit off in their own stadium. I don't know. I'm just hoping over here. Could be totally wrong, but I'm not too familiar with what Inter has on their side, because I don't follow Inter. I know Lautaro Martinez and Thuram are really able to hurt us. That's what I know. But given Thuram will be there, I think, and Lautaro might not. But hell, at this rate, I don't know. I'm just hoping that I'll have an off night. That's the best answer I can give you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if I had to guess with Inter, I think for me, like, what I most fear from them is something that I expected to see in the first leg but didn't, and it's shots from outside the box. I'm looking particularly at Çalhanoğlu, because I remember the last time that we faced Inter, he was able to score against us from the edge of the box, and I just feel like at the San Siro, like, they're gonna do that. They're gonna be willing to shoot from those ranges, and that's what I fear us, in a sense, allowing. Because I think back to how we faced off against Atletico Madrid, and this was like back in, I think it was back in the league, where we lost back in, I think it was November or December, and we conceded our equalizer, I believe, from a set piece. Oh, no, I mean, well, not a set piece, but from a long shot from outside the box. I think it was Llorente who scored, where the ball, like, just kind of held up and he scored against them from outside the box there, and also DePaul as well.
2 goals. 2 goals are scored by, first goals are scored by DePaul, and the last one was scored by Sorloth. So 2 goals were scored. DePaul's goal was the mistake of Pedri. Pedri backflipped the pass, and I think, I am right. Yeah, Pedri backflipped the pass. And
that was actually that wasn't Pedri. That was Casado who made the back heel, and it fell to DePaul, and then he shot and scored. That was the league. And then in the Copa del Rey for 4-3, it was Llorente who made it 4-3 there with a goal from outside the box, and then Sordelov made it 4-4. And then in the league, Sordelov scored the winner, and then that's how they were able to win in the league and then draw in the Copa del Rey. And so I'm looking at those moments there, right? And I'm thinking of replace DePaul and Llorente with Çalhanoğlu and Barella. That's what I fear from Inter. That's where I feel like, because it's the sort of game where my nightmare would be us having so many chances, not taking them, right? Being very, very slack, not finishing our dinner, and then Inter having that one moment, maybe in transition that they break and the ball just breaks loose at the edge of the box. Çalhanoğlu shoots, he scores. Or Barella shoots, he scores. Or they shoot and it takes a deflection and it goes in, and all of a sudden that's how they get their goal. Then they bunker in and defend and then frustrate us. Like, that's my sort of concern / nightmare about Inter Milan, because I don't think, especially if Lautaro isn't there, I don't think Inter can hurt us too much. Although, I mean, I have to be honest though, Taremi did cause us issues there because he constantly won balls in the air and was able to knock them down there for like Thuram and other players too. So I think if Araujo were to start against Inter in some capacity, whether it's at right back or, left back, wherever, I think he'd help out massively in us dealing with Inter in the air, and then therefore, making us more, I guess, solid defensively. So I think for me with Inter, my biggest thing is just don't let them shoot from in and around the box. Like, be very, very alert, because if not, they will punish you.
Çalhanoğlu played such a bad game in his first leg. He is so bad, Çalhanoğlu, and their midfield, their whole midfield is so bad on the first leg.
Their midfield is disjointed.
I think the best way to hold them or to keep them quiet is to keep having ball. Have the ball, rotate the ball and score the goal. That's the thing I think Barca should focus on and do.
And let's see. Okay, what would you guys say as we sort of get ready to wrap up here, since it's getting late for Omar as well?
Yeah, it's too late.
Let me ask you guys this. What would be your score predictions? Like, what do you think would happen in this game for both teams? And what do you think that the final outcome will be?
Oh, God. I'm going to give a little bit of a twist to this question. I'm really afraid that we will both drop the Champions League and La Liga. That's my biggest fear. So I think Inter has our number, but I believe Lautaro Martinez is really pivotal for their success in the box. So if Dumfries doesn't have someone to like make passes in the box to guys like Lautaro, but he has Thuram, so that might be some threat, but there's a less threat, if you catch my drift. I'd say it's gonna go to penalties. I feel like I'm not sure on the score, precise score, but this is gonna go to penalties, I think. I feel like both.
By the way, let me absolutely clear, just to say, if it goes to penalty kicks, we are cooked. It's over. Like, it is absolutely 100% over for us if it goes to pens, okay? Because we have horrible takers when it comes to penalty kicks, especially now with Koundé out injured. We have a really, really poor list of takers outside of Lewandowski and Rafinha. Like, really, really bad.
By the way, just to pass another question around, but the left back of PSG, I don't know what the release clause is over there, but I believe he's a similar profile to Balde.
Nuno Mendes?
Yeah.
Yes, but PSG are not going to give us Nuno Mendes, especially under
Nuno Mendes is not leaving.
Enrique,
That's not happening.
Yeah.
Wait.
By the way, PSG hate us. Okay, like they hate our guts. So there's no chance they would want us to have a player like Mendes from their club. Like unless they actively wanted him gone by any means, they wouldn't sell him to us. They really, really hate us right now. And to be fair, it's a similar, like it's vice versa, but you know, it's how they are.
I want y'all to just take a quick look at the last tweet I put in the space, because what a night for Gerard Martin, man. Man of the match, officially. I don't think anyone expected that. And I honestly would have given it to Hector Fort if we had to give it to any of the defensive players. But
you know, it's funny. It's funny because like we commentated, right? And we felt that for the most part, both Gerard Martin and Hector Fort did quite well, you know, for what they were tasked to do. And there were even pages as well who would post stats of both Gerard Martin and Hector Fort and really showed how good they were. But if you see the tweets from Barca fans, man, a lot of them were so pissed at Hector Fort. Like there's some like scathing reviews calling him trash, calling him horrible, wanting him sold. It's crazy.
I feel like
I don't understand it. I saw it a couple of games ago too, where I was like, but did we watch the same game? Because he was very good.
I feel like
he's been on
you have a good blueprint with Hector Fort to really develop him into a offensive right back, I think. But Flick has to give that a chance.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, he's really, really good in that sense. Because the thing is, Hector Fort can do both roles really, really well. Where we saw him in today's game, he can play both as an inverted fullback and he can overlap. That's a really, really good skill set to have. And also, by the way, his take-ons are very impressive. Like, he's very, very good in 1v1 situations there. He has confidence to go past this man. His crossing's not bad either. Yeah. I mean, we saw it today. He nearly scored an unbelievable, like, little solo goal. So he's got real, real talent. Even against, me and, Omar were really impressed with his game against Mallorca as well. He was really, really, really good.
You know,
he had some wonderful moves.
You know, it's also interesting with Hector Fort too, because the run he went on when he almost scored, I have not seen a Barcelona forward, not just a striker, a forward, pull the moves he did inside the box with the confidence he did them. Like, I don't
mean today?
Yes.
I agree.
It was ridiculous. It was ridiculously good.
Yes, those are the brief glimpses to where I'm like, there's actually a player there, and you could develop it. And I hope Flick took a note there and would think to himself, might be worth to develop that player.
You'd hope so.
Do you, by the way, think Nico Williams is desired by Hansi Flick?
Yes.
But also from a systematic need as well.
Yes. Yep.
Because he will not give you the defensive side like Balde does on that left side.
Yeah, I mean, Nico Williams doesn't need necessarily to operate in a more defensive sense. If he signs for us, he's gonna be a winner,
I know, but like Balde does carry the entire flank, and Rafinha is able to drift inside and do his thing. And like I feel like if you get Nico Williams in, then it's only like you will pair him with Gerard Martin more likely. Because then
you're thinking it's going to be another Alba Neymar situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
I hear that.
Because I feel like the dynamics will be just way different. I feel.
Oh yeah.
And it will also make for a different system, because I believe with what Flick has at Bayern, he wants his Davies, but Balde is his Davies, but Nico will not be his Davies on the defensive side. So like you need to look, okay, I'm going to shift some pieces around. But if you shift some pieces, it means you need to come up with a different system. And I hope Flick is able to do that, because historically speaking, he wants his Davies, his profile that's able to carry that entire left flank. And I don't know if
Yeah, and
Nico, I'd say he probably wants more depth in, say, someone like a new Balde in Mendes, because I believe they're similar profiles. I could be wrong, but that's outright, that's not on the table. I know, but I'm just wondering if with Nico Williams, it's not maybe something Flick wants, because he might need to shift too many pieces, which makes the system not tick as he wants to. But I could be wrong.
I hear
so
that.
let me point this out, because I think that I can see like the point you're making there and the bridge you're building in a sense here, because with Nico Williams, right, he is a different sort of profile to the wingers that we have at the club right now. So he's a very different profile to Rafinha, for example. So Nico Williams is someone who loves to play wide. So similar to Yamal, he likes to hug the touchline. He likes to receive the ball there and have the chance to run at opponents and take them on. Now, the setup that we have and what Hansi Flick had during his time at Bayern was he'd oftentimes have his wingers play both of these roles, where there's one winger who will hug the touchline, take players on. So that would be Kingsley Coman, who would operate in that sort of role. And there was another winger who would play as more of an inside forward. That was Serge Gnabry. Now, right now, at Barca, what you have is in Rafinha and in Ansu Fati. Ansu is sort of a hybrid, although unfortunately physically he's not what he used to be. But what Ansu is a hybrid, right? He can operate both on the touchline and he can drift inside and play as an inside forward. So he has those capabilities to him, which is what allows him to have such a good relationship with Alejandro Balde. Now, it's a similar thing with Rafinha this season. He's grown really, really well in understanding how to operate with Balde and allowing Balde to have that flank. With Nico Williams, things would have to change a little bit, because Nico, depending on his adaptability, I think Flick sees a lot of potential in him physically there with how he operates. His dribbling's very, very good. 1v1s are very, very good. A few things with Nico that would have to be improved upon would be finishing. Because in this system, he'd be receiving the ball in a lot more central areas there at certain times to, run in behind there in transition. He'll be asked to do a lot more finishing than he would do at Bilbao, where with Bilbao, he's free to play a lot more of a creative role. With Nico and Balde, the key is going to be understanding each other's balance and movements. Because with Balde will likely want to have that flank. And so the key is, do they alternate? Meaning that does Balde take on a more underlapping role compared to what he would do under Rafinha to give Nico that sort of space? Or does Nico have enough in his game to become that inside forward mode? Does he have enough in his game to alternate and adapt in that sort of role
Don't you think?
to play that sort of inside?
I'm sorry, but don't you think that Nico will be more of an additional signing to, let's say, a profile like Gerard Martin?
It would depend, because I think with Gerard Martin, his role is more defensive. So if you were to bring in Nico, right, and if your idea was, okay, you wanted to play Gerard Martin and you felt that you were looking for a better partnership, a better combination, I would say that in theory, yes. But I think that Balde can also play that role. It's just that with Gerard Martin, his game is naturally more suited to the defensive side, right? So you would have Gerard Martin naturally play a bit deeper, right? A bit more restricted. And you would give Nico the freedom there to hug that touchline, to have that flank to himself. Because Gerard Martin is more suited to the defensive side, right? With Balde is very much suited to both sides of the game. Balde will very much love to push forward. He'd very much be happy to also, tuck in as well and defend if need be. So the key just becomes, what do you want? If you're Hansi Flick, what do you want? What balance do you want to bring forward? Because with Balde, if you want him to push on forward, then you push him forward. But if you want a more defensive approach, then you'd be telling Balde, okay, just hold back a little bit and then let Nico have the flank at times to take players on. Or what you could do if you want to keep things the same is you're gonna have to teach Nico how to play as a more inside forward, how to use his pace in more central areas there, make the same runs as Rafinha, and then the question becomes, can Nico be developed into a more clinical player? Can you actually turn Nico from a 10 goal a season player to a 15, 20, 30 goal a season player? Can you do that with Nico? Right? Then of course there's also massive questions over Lamine Yamal and how he develops as well. The partnership as well that he has with Nico. How does Yamal also grow as a goal scorer? And then of course, eventually when you get a younger striker as well, how does that make the team look in terms of freshness and movement and how they alternate? So those are the sorts of questions that you would have to answer if you brought Nico in. But I think he has enough in his arsenal to tick those boxes there, to be able to fill in at least one of these areas.
Well, that's what I also wanted to get at with Lamine. I feel like with Lamine, he's going to have plenty of chances to develop that side of his game. To be clinical.
Brother, you can continue. I have a point, so I will leave right now. It's 4:20 a.m. So yeah.
I think it is also about time we wrap up. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking everyone drop their final points, and then we'll wrap this up.
What's your prediction, Barcelona, about Inter versus Barca?
Praying. That's the only answer I have. I'm sorry.
Good question.
No, I'm Barca.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm gonna say Barca 3, Inter 1. It's a very confident prediction. It's also very tentative at the same time, but I'm gonna say we just have enough to make it 3-1.
That is bold. I'm gonna say 3-2. I think it's gonna be a high scoring match. And also, I just realized something. So since I'm hosting this from Blaugranagram, if you follow Blaugranagram, you're following the company, but you're not following me. My Twitter @ is in the title of this space. So if you want to follow that, you can click on it up there. Same thing with Barca DNA. But for me, I think it's going to be a super tight match. I don't think there's any way where, especially with, I was honestly surprised Denzel Dumfries scored a brace, especially the way he did it. And, he's, for the most part, when it comes to clutch games, he's been a goal scoring threat for Inter. And I would be surprised if he didn't score again, or at least set up a goal. So for me, that alone is a threat in itself. And then you add to that Marcus Thuram, who's slowly finding form. Taremi slowly finding form. I think we're going to see a lot of goals in that game. And I think, like Peter said previously, Barca can outscore any team at this point. I don't really doubt that.
But also without Balde?
That's the thing, though.
Yep.
That's the thing. That's the exact point.
I'm going to be really pessimistic, and I'm going to say Inter has our number. 3-2. We try again next season.
I hope you're wrong, but look.
Yes, I hope I'm wrong as well. You know what? I'm going to make you feel a little bit better. I also thought we would lose Copa del Rey. My mom kept telling me, no, we're going to win, and my mom has been right about winning the Copa del Rey final. So
long may it rain.
Your mom should punch you on your face.
What?
Your mom should punch you on your face.
Basically, yes, but I'm just really fearful. I don't get me wrong. If we have our best 11 available, we win. But now I'm going to say we miss out, and I'm still going to be proud.
Okay, my prediction is 3-1. Maybe 3-0, I should say.
3-0.
Barca.
Okay.
But what could happen though is I feel like away we're a bit more daring.
Which is funny.
If Barca don't do individual mistakes, for me, if Barca don't do individual mistakes, it could be 3-0 or 3-1.
What I do see happen though, is if Barca is away really daring, I feel like Barca can get it over the line, but it's only when they're almost going to neglect defending. Like basically just...
Yep. Just to chime in here with some important news. Sorry, I'll let you guys get back to the point in a minute. But just to say this, we just got news that Lewandowski will join group training tomorrow. So whilst Valde we're not really sure if Valde will be present in the game itself. Lewandowski, at the very, very least, might be able to come off the bench. He might start, but I think will likely come off the bench in the match against Inter, because he will be training tomorrow with the group on Sunday.
Great news.
I
So
hope
who is
Balde
the
could at least come to Italy with the squad. I hope that at the very least does happen.
I think we'll see a very big squad list. I think a lot
Yeah,
are going
yeah,
to come
yeah.
from moral support.
Yeah.
Like we saw with
Yes.
Ter Stegen when he came in, even though he was definitely not going to be playing when Chesney was starting, he was still in the squad for moral support, right? So I think we'll see that
No,
as
he
well.
will not be on the
Balde.
squad.
I think he'll be
Why
on.
can't we just like make a really desperate attempt in like, I don't know, getting Balde on at the 70th minute, and let's just say we are like losing the game. I might. Would you guys risk that? Honestly?
I mean, depends on
You
how
will
far he
see
is into his
tomorrow.
recovery. If he's on the cusp, probably, yeah. I would probably risk it. If he's on the cusp of getting
Yeah,
absolutely ready, yeah.
we will see tomorrow. If Balde trains, he will be with the squad.
I
and
hope
Balde
that
does
it's something Flick at the very least like considers. Like, okay, I don't have Balde available probably, but I might just risk it if the situation demands it. But that is to say that if he's a betting man, which
We will
regarding
see
his
tomorrow.
system, he kind of is.
I think he is.
Yeah, who will be one question? Yeah, who will you think will be the most decisive player for this game,
Pedri.
Barca versus Inter?
Pedri.
Pedri.
Because if Pedri clicks,
Okay.
the team clicks. If he
Yeah,
doesn't click, it's the midfield is cooked.
exactly.
If he's not
Yes.
clicking, the midfield is cooked.
Exactly.
Like I'm
Yeah.
also
I
going
would
to
say
give a
Pedri.
different twist to this whole thing. I feel like if Lamine has another of those games, but I don't know about that, what he had against the first leg against Inter, then like I feel like the only two ways I see us winning is us going ham on the attack, almost like what I believe Barcelona said a moment ago. We can outscore anyone. Like that's your bread and butter, basically. Yep. Okay, we don't have Balde, but we basically put all our best eggs into that one basket. Keep scoring, and almost neglect defense entirely, because you do. Wait a minute. Actually, we already do know that we're exposed with Dumfries, so might as well like neglect that entire side anyway. Like just play the ultimate high risk. Like, Flick has done it before, like the Russian roulette football. He's still doing it. So why not double down on what you've been doing and put that to the max, basically? The other way I'd predict is Lamine going just ham. Lamine doing everything. But that can also go along with the first way I just described. So, like,
Okay.
Those are my predictions. We either have that coming up, or we're going to lose.
Who is your lookout player to look out for the match?
Like, which player?
What?
Do you mean
for Inter or for us?
Yeah. Do you mean for Inter or for Barca?
Inter Barca.
Barella for Inter for me.
Okay. Yeah. For me, it would be. Yeah, exactly. For me, it would be Marcus Thuram. I think he's going to be really, really dangerous there for Barca to watch out for. I think pacing behind matters. I think as well in the box, we have to be careful. Dumfries is kind of an obvious pick if Valde isn't there, because he is going to be effective on that left-hand side. But I'm looking more so at Thuram there. I think Barella is also key. And also, you know what? I would also say Jan Sommer, because he was actually really, really good in the first leg, especially with dealing with balls across the face of goal that were so close to being tapped in by Barca players. And he did so well to get across, and then he made an unbelievable save on Yamal there, to deny him scoring a brace. So I think Jan Sommer for Inter will be really, really important as well, alongside the players that we've mentioned.
Okay, final point or question from everyone, and we'll wrap this up. So, Drenched, go.
I can't come up with a question, so I'll let the other ones go first.
Okay. All right. It doesn't have to be a question. It can be a point. It can be a thank you, good night. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, it should be a thank you, good night, man.
We'll make it not too long. No worries, bro. I'm just happy to found a good space to share my thoughts and have nice little discussions.
I'm very happy to hear that.
I'm not familiar too much with this space, so like I don't know if there are other familiar faces I should look out for that can also add to the discussion in the future.
What I'll say is feel free to invite anyone you know who you think might have something to say or you think might enjoy this. We obviously continuously try to expand these, and to be honest, the spaces pursuit is quite new for us in the sense that we've tried it in the past. We're doing spaces for Barça Femení games as well, and now we're doing them for the men's games as well. So you'll see us a lot doing these spaces. And honestly, I really, really enjoyed this tonight. So the more we do this, the better, I think, for everyone. And obviously, you're both always invited to hop in and say your piece. And we'd love for you to be a staple in these discussions as well.
Okay, I'll definitely keep it in mind. Regarding on Tuesday, I have to back my boys, but I'm also going to be realistic. So I'm praying for the win because I have this dream. Like my dream is to travel. I'm still going to say that, but it's just a situation where I'm just afraid out of my mind because I don't know, like I could see it that it could probably be another situation like against Benfica where at the last moment we win the game and I don't know, like it could be an outrageous night. I feel like that's what it is shaping up to be, but I don't know. It's going to be a tough one. And regarding these spaces, I'm very happy, like I said, and we're coming up with the summer. If you're gonna have those spaces as well, we could also like discuss maybe some potential signings, sagas going on probably as well. I'd be down.
That is definitely the goal.
Yes.
And of course the driven shot continues as well. So, you'll be seeing a lot of us, talking and you'll be hearing us a lot. So, whether it's Peter or myself or both of us, we'll definitely be there for every single part of it. And obviously whenever we receive news, whether from our sources or whether we see reports from other news outlets, we'll be sure to report them.
Could you maybe, I'm sure you probably can't, but could you elaborate on your sources? Like, I don't know, do you use the same sources like that, the likes of Barça Times and also Rashad Rahman that I also follow? Those are my sources that I follow for the latest news. I also have you in there as well. But you usually don't have like the known journalists like Javi Miguel, Sheriff Romero.
So to clarify, when we post something, some piece of news, and we don't say it is from, we're citing this report. So when we don't have the hat tip at the end, that's because it's sources directly that are telling us, Blaugranagram, these news, and we're posting them. When it's something that is said by a journalist or a newspaper, we will tag that newspaper or journalist in the tweet. So if it's something that we've posted where we haven't said hat tip to this person or this news outlet, that's because it's our direct sources telling us these information.
It's kind of like a private thing, right?
Yeah, so our sources tell us news that we then post as our exclusive stories.
Okay.
So that's how that works compared to, say, quoting Mundo Deportivo or Sport or Gigantes or a journalist. These are our news that we get from our sources.
By the way, I do have a question actually. How about the VIP boxes? I don't know is that like, I believe you did tweet something out about it being bad news, but afterwards it became better. I'm not even quite sure anymore, but is that going well or is it still up in the air?
So when it comes to the VIP box, it's an interesting situation. We're still waiting to see what's going to happen with it. The last we have is that Barça had an agreement.
Yeah,
with
last I think they are going to make the VIP boxes before the transfer.
So the club wants the VIP boxes as soon as possible. So they want them before the deadline that has been set, and they reached an agreement with a Turkish company to make that happen.
But deadlines have to be met, probably, right?
Yes. So there's a lot of like, whether it's considered like the actual income and whether the league agrees that it's income that they can definitely attest to is fully in line with all the regulations and all that. There is a lot of bureaucracy when it comes to that kind of stuff in terms of using it as revenue and using it as a budget. So there's a lot that goes on when it comes to those, even if they are like set up and even if they have a deal. It's also about the league saying, yes, this is a good deal. This is a real deal and we can approve it. So as soon as we have more, we'll be sure to update it, but that's the latest.
Do you have like a positive outlook on the situation, or do you see it turning out like, La Liga given the slap, like also, if we win that treble, that would also like be some damage control, right? Regarding whether it goes through or not. Like it makes us still not as flexible in the market, but it's at least damage control.
The treble would definitely make a difference for sure in terms of what the club has of money to spend on a lot of things. Personally, I think it will go through. But in that business, anything can change at any point.
Yes, I can definitely attest to that. One day they report that, and then the other day it's an entirely different story.
And it's also because things change a lot.
Yes, exactly.
So it's also, that's the thing as well when we report news from our sources where people sometimes go, well,
that's the thing. Like it's constantly the narrative regarding FFP. It's constantly being changed, and that's really the annoying part about it, actually.
Agreed. And, hopefully Barcelona will find a way to make things click. And, they're working actively on it. And we've definitely seen, Juan Laporta be as transparent as he can be. So that's a good sign.
Do you consider Joan Laporta actually to be a good president? I'm sorry, just constantly now keep on going with the questions, but as we're talking.
Personally, yeah.
Oh man.
It's a mixed bag for me, but it's like at the end of the day, I feel like he has the best interests at mind for the club. So, and I've also heard like different president candidates that are even worse. So there's that as well.
The thing is, a lot of people tend to bring up the Messi situation when it comes to Laporta, but it's like even with the Messi,
he chose the club. He chose the club. Come on now.
Yeah, but the thing is, even Messi did not know that was going to happen. It's not like Laporta planned to like say Messi, and then just, trick everyone. And that was never.
Doesn't that like expose a level of incompetency because he wasn't aware? Like either he lied or either he said something he couldn't make happen, which speaks of not being rightfully informed, which makes me believe that.
See, here's what I would say, right, regarding this. I think Laporta genuinely thought that there was nothing wrong. I think both him and Messi and the club went over the details regarding their contract renewal, and they really believed that there was nothing wrong. I think Laporta as well.
Sorry, man.
I don't know.
One minute. Sorry. Barca, Diana, sorry man, 1 minute to cut you. Yeah, I have to go to sleep, man. It's too long. I think I have to go to sleep.
No
Thank
worries,
you.
bro.
Deep, it's been an absolute
Yeah,
pleasure. Thank you for joining.
No, of course, bro. It's
Have a
fine.
great
It's
day.
fine. Yeah.
We hope to
Yes.
see you next
it's a
time.
pleasure to
Sleep
talk
well,
to
bro.
all of you, man.
Sleep well.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Bye,
Ciao.
bye, everyone. Hope to
Yeah, bye. Sleep well.
talk with you later.
We'll be talking as travel winners next time, my brother.
Likewise.
After the interview, I will definitely.
Keep hoping, man.
Yeah. Bye.
Though I'm not
All right.
responsible if you are
Bye-bye.
up too much. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but I mean, what I would say is, I think Laporta and Messi. I think from Laporta's side, I think he genuinely thought, that things were going to be okay. I don't think he would knowingly put Messi in that position, where he would say this and then not be able to
I mean,
fulfill it out like mountain. I think he knew.
Using Messi as a vehicle to get yourself elected is a good strategy, though. So, like, there is definitely a case you could make to say, like, oh, he used it in order to get elected. It's a good strategy. So, like, there might be something to say over there.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I think anybody in his position would do it because he was the president before. He knows Leo. He had a very good relationship with him up until this point, and it was the easy thing to do.
Brother, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, I just saw news. I'm going to share it, and it's God. Regarding my hopes, it's being raised again. It's being. Oh no, man! Damn it! My nervous laugh is coming out because now I'm being hopeful about it. We're gonna have Leo and Ball. They may be available, and oh no.
But the thing is, that's obvious though. Even if they weren't gonna train tomorrow with the squad, they're still constantly assessing them. That's the thing. That's the thing with these news that come out from time to time, is that they're stating the obvious, right? That's a thing as well. And yeah, they'll definitely be testing. And I honestly think what we'll see is, even if he hasn't gotten the green light, I think he will be in the squad list regardless. That when they do land
is
in
he
Milano,
even allowed to be so?
ready.
Like
It's happened before.
If you don't have like,
it's happened before. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like some like sports legal thing. If you're not like cleared, you can't compete. I thought that was
no. So the idea is that if you have a medical green light, that's basically the club saying that yes, you can compete in this match, but he can be in the squad list even if he doesn't have the medical green light. And it's been seen in a lot of cases, actually. There's been a decent handful of matches where on Barcelona's squad list, for example, it would say a pending medical green light. Or
what about what? Do you hear me?
Yes.
I cut out, like, what part was I saying? Oh, Barca DNA is leaving, I think he's coming back. Yeah,
I think his internet is letting him down. And I think it's also about time we wrap up. Yeah, make your final point.
I was going to say something. What?
I think it was about the Valde situation.
I remember what I was going to say. How about Casado, actually? Because he's also about to be cleared, I believe. I don't know if that's an option on the right back, because I believe he has some experience on the right back position.
To be honest, I would imagine that I'd imagine Flick would rather play Eric Garcia at right back, if not a right back, only because of the fact that he's played there this season, and he knows what is expected. Whereas Casado, putting him in midfield on its own would be a bit much from a start. and then putting him at right back, I think would just be throwing him for a loop. I don't think that would happen. So, I mean, technically it's possible if he's fit, but I don't see it happening personally.
Fair. I hope, like, if you had to choose between Araujo and Eric Garcia on that right back,
I would put Eric Garcia at right back because I would trust Araujo at center back more than I would trust Eric Garcia in a game like this.
Yeah, but you have Kubarsi and Martinez for that center back.
Oh, so you mean
right?
either? Oh, okay. Okay, I hear you. I would put Araujo if I had to pick between the two.
Fair. I agree. Because for the counters, you want someone to eat up ground like Araujo does.
And physicality, which Eric Garcia has more of now than he used to, but still not as much as Araujo.
Exactly. Anyway, let's wrap it up. I've been going on a bit too long. My apologies for that.
No, it's all good. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Andre.
Yeah.
And hopefully it is not the last time. Feel free to stay in touch with us, whether through DMs or elsewhere. I think that pretty much wraps it up for this time. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you had as fun as we did. And we wish you all a very good night.
Yes. Take care. Good night.
Take care. Good night.